Hi, this is Love from Tits and Giggles podcast. I love using Anchor because it's easy to operate and I can just pick up the phone and speak my mind whenever I want. I love the podcast availability because I can get it out to multiple platforms at the same time without having to go. It automatically generates your RSS feed and you get it out to your listeners. And I love the background music and all the sound effects. Loving Anchor so much. You should try it for yours. This is Love again with Tits and Giggles podcast. What's up, Tits and Giggles? So tonight I want to talk about the worst roommate ever, which the reason I want to talk about this is because there's like a real life, even though that's supposed to be real life too, story of what a lady is dealing with in her Airbnb. But if you guys haven't watched The Worst Roommate Ever, it was on Netflix and it had like several accounts of like some people being killed by their roommates. I mean, it was bad, but I don't know if you guys know this, but like that is one reason why I'm afraid to rent a home or buy a home and rent it out, because I just feel like people will never leave. And so on this show on Netflix, The Real Crimes Behind the Worst Roommate Ever, I'm just going to tell you about some of the cases. So you had Jameson Bachman. He was a guy who was a serial squatter, and he had like just stayed in this lady's house. Like he couldn't get rid of her. He sent the lady's pet to a kill shelter. Like he attacked one of his roommates with a knife. Like she just couldn't get him out. And mind you, I watched this, but like he had so many false identities. He seemed like a normal person, which I know the rent in New York is super high and people look for roommates, but this guy, he seemed like a normal person that just would not leave. He eventually ended up killing his brother. After he finally got put out of this lady's house, he went to go live with his brother, which he ended up killing his brother and finally went to prison for it. And of course, he committed suicide. And then you have this guy out of Southern California, Casey Joy. He was living with this military veteran, and she once again, another expensive place. She got her roommate. He was seemed like a normal guy, but he ended up kind of wanting to date her, becoming obsessed with her, like to the fact that when she told him she didn't want to date him and she wanted him to leave, he ended up killing her, getting a facelift and all this, and trying to evade the police. And what happened, how the police finally caught him, is because they couldn't find her body, but when he went to a library, he looked it up on the map, so that's how they found her. And then he is currently in prison for second-degree murder and facing 15 years to life. Then you have the old lady, Dorothea Puente, who was a member of the Sacramento community. She was actually taking in elderly people and pretty much killing them and stealing their Social Security and burying them in her backyard. There was a guy, Yusef Crater. He was a global guy, and he had convinced his people that he was living with to help him out, and he ended up actually trying to kill this girl after he tried to, an American named Callie, he took a room with her and he attempted to frame her for stealing food and cash, and then he ambushed her and left her for dead. But fortunately she survived and was able to identify him, and then he only got like a really short sentence, and then he was extradited back to Denmark. So, and this was an expat nightmare. So these are some crazy stories, but what's crazier is what this lady is enduring right now. She had rented out her Airbnb, like a room in her home. And so after she was out of town, so after she came back, the cleaning people told her that this lady is still in your house and she's not leaving. So here's some accounts of her. I'm gonna play. It's like a 4-part series where she's kind of stuck with this lady. So I'm gonna play it for you so you can see what she's dealing with. So what she what she asks is, what would you guys do? Woman was an unwanted roommate after she temporarily subleased a room in her house. Guest refuses to leave because she is now considered a tenant, and she says she's not going anywhere. So, and this is the thing, guys. Like, if you let, I mean, especially with rent being so high right now, like, if you let people in your house, they could stay. So, very, very well beware. So, here is her story. I'm going to play it.
Airbnbs. Okay, so I can't even talk right now. I'm so pissed off. I didn't even know this shit could happen, but this shit is real. This shit is really going on. Goddamn, I call myself trying to find a way to goddamn pay off my mortgage a little better, a little quicker, or whatever. So I put this ad out or whatever, saying I was looking for someone to sublease one of the rooms in my house or whatever. It was gonna be supposed to be like this real smooth transaction, whatever. Went on vacation or whatever. The person was supposed to be gone 3 days prior to my return. So I'm talking to my housekeeper or whatever, XYZ. She's like, yo, that person is still here in your house. What do you mean they're still in my house? It's supposed to be gone. So when I get back and touch down in the city, this is still here in my house, okay? Refusing to leave. So I don't know what to do. I'm used to this shit. So I go down.
So there you have it. She was trying to make some extra money. She ended up, subleasing her house out. And, I know that that's the thing. I even considered it myself. Like, I was going to buy a property. There's no way I could let a stranger live in my house. I just can't. I could barely let family stay over my house, let alone a stranger. So, but I've seen these nightmares, and it's just like, this lady's actually stuck with this lady. So here's part 2.
So I go down and I do there you go, y'all. Straight to the kitchen. I ain't going nowhere. So deal with it. On top of her ass just intruded into my home, she disrespected. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I've been trying to do the right way. I done went down there and got the all the paperwork that I need to do to get her ass evicted out my house, whatever. But that shit is a process. I have to go through protocols and all the other stupid legal blase bull. And then I just the police just left my house, and I'm like, get this out my house. And they're like, oh, she's a tenant now. She's a tenant. There's nothing. You and the police, okay? My door. That's all I know. Your door. This is my house. How about you get the? So I go down.
So guys, this lady, she's like giving her little Instagram live story, and this lady walks out while she's giving a live, just going to her kitchen, helping herself to food. And like she says, she's called the police, and they're like, oh, she's a tenant now. And yeah, so she's having to go through a whole eviction process, and this lady not only is all up in her house, but very disrespectful to her as well. Like, there's no way I could do this. Like, yeah, let's go to the next part.
That's what you do. How about you get the out of my house? How about you get the out of my house? How about you get? Same though. Excuse me. You can record all you want. All you want, but I ain't going nowhere. Okay? So deal with it. This is what I'm dealing with, y'all. I'm Airbnb. So don't trust it. Don't do that. Make sure you know exactly who the you let into your house, because it is some freeloading motherfuckers who would just use you out my house. And then I call the goddamn police and she's a tenant. She's not no tenant in my house. What do you mean? This is supposed to goddamn be gone. That's what she's supposed to be. She's supposed to be gone. The fuck? Is this call the police? Call the police, because I ain't going nowhere. Don't touch that door. That's what you do.
So, as you can see, this lady's called the police, everything. Lady's still in there. Lady disrespectful, smoking cigarettes, like it. I couldn't even imagine. But this is true. I mean, if you let anybody stay with you over a certain amount of days, because I know that's the law in my state, they can live there. I forget what it is, but I'm very careful who I let up in my house. Even when I put my son out, I made sure that all his stuff is gone, because it's like, you don't live here, because people can just stay in your house. So even if you have a man or whoever that needs to stay with you a few days, they can just decide to stay in your house. And like I said, we're going through a recession right now. Be careful who you just let come up in your house. So let's see what has happened in the next update, because I didn't see that part. Let's see.
Don't touch that door or I'm calling the police on you. They're gonna arrest you. Fuck all that. Are you smoking in my house? Are you, this? Don't touch that.
So yeah, guys, it's bad. It's rough. I can't even imagine, couldn't even imagine this happening. Like, I'm just, this is just a warning to you guys. Just be careful out there with the Airbnbs, with people staying in your house, period. Because, yeah, they could become a tenant, and that's anybody, boyfriend, sister, friend, niece, cousin, whatever. Once you let them in there a certain amount of days, I think it's over 3 days in my state, they can become a tenant, and they don't have to pay you anything, and you'll literally have to evict them, and then you're going to be out of money. So be warned. Watch that Worst Roommate Ever on Netflix. That'll really make you afraid. I mean, it's sad because you want to help people out and also make some extra cash, but when you're dealing with people, these are things that you can face. So you've been warned. You've been warned. All right, tits and giggles signing off. Have a good week.